Welcome to the Microsoft IT Pro Podcast, a show about Office 365, Azure, and the IT Pro and end user side of life. Each week, we'll discuss a different topic or recent news related to Office 365 and Azure and how it relates to you as an IT Pro. The Microsoft IT Pro Podcast is never longer than 30 minutes, so let's get started.
We're live. We're at SharePoint Conference 2018, sitting over here in the podcast center. We have Stephen Rose. He's the Senior Product Marketing Manager for OneDrive for Business at Microsoft. Yeah, we always got to throw that in there, make sure the titles are correct. So thanks for joining us, Stephen. We're
Absolutely.
Hopefully go through a nice rundown of some of the announcements and some of the new innovations that we're seeing that are helping customers be able to use OneDrive.
I think that'd be great.
As a product and grow into it. So Keynote had a bunch of announcements. Mm-hmm. You know, I personally see a bunch of value in things like multi-geo support. Mm-hmm. Recently had that go GA for OneDrive coming to SharePoint. Why don't we talk about that one real quick?
Yeah, I think with multi-geo, especially now with GDPR and so many of the requirements, we have a lot of folks saying, I want to make sure my data is in the country of my choice so that if I have people in the UK, it's there and it's following all of those data and residency rules. It's not there for speed. That's always the big thing. Oh, if I got people in the UK, I'll put it there to be faster. It's not going to make it faster, but it's going to help you to comply. And we've made it now super, super easy. Literally a drop down, pick the folks, go. That along with hold your own key were two really great features that we brought in the past year on security that have really helped people have a better control over their data and really take ownership of it the way that they want to do.
Yeah, I think it's helpful for customers to understand too. It's not just OneDrive or SharePoint workloads that are protected.
It's Exchange, it's across all everything in the cloud that you're storing is going to be now in that country of choice.
Excellent. And that's all just driven off that user's usage location. So now it's actually really important that customers make sure that metadata is right.
Yes, absolutely.
and ready to go and tagged in. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. So we also had some mobile announcements that came out.
Yeah, mobile's been mobile and Mac have been two really big areas for us. If you look at our blog, we did one a few weeks ago on some of the new features in mobile, the new stuff we brought to the Mac desktop and the Mac client, and then more announcements this week. So some of the big things is about 2 weeks ago, we announced that we brought the same sharing UI that we brought not only to OneDrive and SharePoint, but that we brought to Office, that we brought to Mac, we brought that to iOS and Android. So now, no matter what platform you're on, web, desktop, mobile, it's going to share exactly the
same. Experience. Train once, use anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So much easier for users.
Absolutely. We also announced last week that we're going to bring the ability to actually install and store all your data in Android on an SD card. That was a big one for a lot of folks.
I missed that one.
Yeah, no, we announced that one, and that was a big one. And actually, it's in the blog post down at the bottom. We talk about the importance of user voice. Those two were two of our biggest user voice asks. So we brought those in, which was great. And it's really, really helped because so many customers were like, wow, this is really important. I have a low-cost device that only has like 32 gigs of storage, and I really want to do OneDrive. So that was a big one for that we brought in. And then this week announced that we're bringing in Camera Roll. That's OneDrive for Business, which has been a big one for corporate-owned devices. And then that we're also going to bring the updated scan experience, get it out of just the plus, bring it down to the bottom. It leverages Office Lens and make it a first-class citizen.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's nice to see that one. Like some of that stuff coming to OneDrive for Business, because I know I've used Camera Roll in the personal OneDrive for a while, but I can totally see with especially business devices, if you're traveling a lot, you want to take a quick picture of your receipt, know that it'll just get auto-uploaded to OneDrive, and then you can download it, you can move it from there. Right. But you at least have that backup copy of it now in OneDrive.
We see a lot also with like oil and gas. We're going to go out to a location. We want to take pictures of the equipment, cable companies, retail. We just set up this new kiosk for our new food product. And so there's a lot of that goes on with corporate-owned devices. So that's been a really great way to allow people to manage that.
And that looked like it was a per-account control. So mix and match. So typically OneDrive's a multi-account tool, personal accounts with MSAs and our org IDs on the other side. So now we can pick and choose and potentially turn that on and off when we need it, right? Just flip the switch and let it go. And that's going to be on both Android and iOS?
Android and iOS, and everything that we talked about both in our OneDrive session and in the keynote for OneDrive will hit before Ignite. So before September, we'll see all this stuff roll out.
Awesome. Okay. Will we see like MAM and Intune controls, maybe for organizations that don't want to see those? Anything on the roadmap for that? Or?
We'll probably have more about that in the fall.
Yeah.
I mean,
questions I don't ask you ahead of time.
No. And I think we have to have those. Absolutely. I don't know what our timeline's going to be, but I think with anything we put out, you have to have a way to control it. And we understand that that's what IT pros want. So it will absolutely come in time.
Awesome. So one of the things you mentioned in there was that sharing experience coming across and being consistent. And there's been some updates to that as well that have been announced. Well, some really exciting ones and some good ones.
Yeah, well, after the anonymous sharing, people said, that's great, but I don't want to have to do this auto-generate one-time use. I want to be able to use my own password. So that has been a huge asset. So let me pick my own password, send it to somebody, and IM it to them or text it to them and have that level of security. But if I can do that, I want to be able to block download. So being able to block download, bringing those two together really gives a lot more control. So I want to share it with somebody, make it a read, but they can't download it and they need a password. Because the password means you can pass it on to anybody else you give the password to, but the block download gives you some control over
there's a lot more granularity there. It doesn't require conditional access and setting additional policies at the tenant level and coming through.
Yeah, I was excited to see the block download because I feel like when OneDrive first came out and the sharing came out, you could share it read-only and you could download it.
Right.
And then for a while, I think the download actually went completely away where you couldn't download it at all.
Right.
Then it was like, well, I kind of want either or.
Right.
So yeah, seeing this control in here now where I can share it as read-only and say, you know what, you can only read it in the browser. I don't want you to take a copy of it. Or, you know what, this is yours. I want to share it and let you download it, but you definitely shouldn't be editing it, editing my copy of it. I love that control.
Yeah, and I think as we bring more things like comment-only links, comment-only versions and things like that as we move forward, which are all things we want to do, that's really going to come in nicely. That like, I don't want to download and you can only make comments, but you can edit the document. I think we're going to continue in that because that's what we hear a lot of in user voice for more of those aspects of granularity.
Yeah, and I think this was in the OneDrive blog post. Does this password protected links apply to all of SharePoint as well, or is this just
it's anything
OneDrive?
that you're sharing with OneDrive, whether it's through SharePoint, et cetera. So, because again, it's that same sharing dialogue. It's that same experience that you're managing through OneDrive.
Okay.
OneDrive is that connective tissue through SharePoint and Teams and Yammer and all that great stuff.
And
awesome.
This still respects link expiration, and
you can override it. Yeah, exactly. This is a subset of everything else. And if they say everything is read-only, that's fine. But if an admin says everything can be in read edit, then again, you have the great thing about OneDrive as opposed to some of our competitors is we allow IT to create a sphere of control, and then users have to work within that, data expirations, et cetera. So that's going to respect all that.
Yeah, we have a great control plane between the cloud side of things and managing the tenancy and the clients themselves coming in, whether they happen to be mobile with some type of application management or on the desktop with Next-Gen Sync client and driving it through.
So I have one more question about that we didn't talk about it, but now I'm curious. With the password, can you set it so that once that's been used once, it essentially expires the sharing link or that password's no longer good so that a user couldn't take that link and the password and forward it to their buddy?
If you want to do that, then you should use the secure one-time use password.
Okay.
Which then is going to send it as soon as they click the button. They have 15 minutes. That password is only good for them. That code is only good for them. They can't forward it to somebody else. So if that's what you want to do, then you should use
that one.
Right, the single one-time use.
So this one, in theory, could still be forwarded around in the password.
And that's the goal is if other people are working on this, it's fine. But there's some security control over it, but it's based on the people you're sharing it with.
So educate the users, let them know the path they're going down, and help them understand the features and the functionality that's in there. And that block download functionality, that's not requiring any type of conditional access or additional controls there either?
Nope, you just do that. Then when somebody goes in, you'll just see the toolbar at the top is blank. There's no print, there's no download, they're all removed.
Is any of this functionality restricted to certain SKUs, or is this available across OneDrive for Business?
It's going to be available across everybody.
E3, E5.
Everybody, it doesn't require like AAD or something like that.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. Sometimes you run into, go and get this.
There are a few things like auto labeling requires E5.
Yes,
and some things do require AAD, but no, this does not. This is going to work for everybody, which is important as we do that.
Cool. Yeah, I saw one of the things that will require Azure Active Directory P2 was the email branding.
Correct.
And having logos and things like that.
Yeah, and what that's going to do is that will grab whatever logo you've picked for your tenant
from
and
your company branding.
And automatically drop it into every email that you send out. But that doesn't, I've tried to be very clear about that in the blog.
Oh, yeah, no, it is called out. But sometimes people miss the fine print.
Yes.
And they come back and say, well,
we have this. How come I can't do it? Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have that. Is there a way to get it anyways? No.
Yeah. There were some really exciting announcements around the sync clients themselves as well, down on desktop, particularly on the Windows side. So we had known folder moves and being able to bring some of that over. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
For folks who are doing known folder redirection, and let's actually go back before that, the goal of companies that we are seeing as they're coming off of Windows 7, older versions of Office is We're using share drives, we're using we need to get to the
we have an
cloud.
H drive or a P drive or an S drive. We have some type of home share where we've already done profile redirection.
So our goal is to get them to the cloud. There's some different ways we're seeing that being in. Some folks are using the SharePoint migration tool, which also works with OneDrive. They're taking that D drive or X drive content, moving that to SharePoint and saying sync those team sites as you need to, and then moving their personal content up. But what we're seeing before that with folks who are on Windows 7 is we're actually just going to do a folder redirect. We're actually just going to make those folders in OneDrive, redirect it and going up. What this allows you to do is if you're on Windows 7, you haven't moved the personal content that they have to the cloud, you're going to be able to say when they save something to the desktop, it's OneDrive. Everything in My Docs is now OneDrive. And when they save it, the goal is always to make sure that a user doesn't do anything different, but it's all backed up.
Right.
Okay. And as we take a look at files on demand mixed with Exchange Online and Autopilot and UEV, you really have 4 technologies that are saying if my laptop crashes right now, I can walk up, buy a new one, and in 30 minutes be exactly where I left off because everything on my desktop, everything in my docs, all my browser favorites, my background, my email, everything that's important to me is there. And with MDM or group policies, I can push out those missing apps. But the email on my docs are the key thing that if I don't have that, I'm screwed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal.
Yeah.
Make that easier.
We were talking before we started. I've had this device die and gone into the store and said, here you go, it's BitLocker encrypted. We wipe it and give me a new one, and I sign into my account, and life's good.
Yeah, and even something, too, you demoed where you talk about users having file on their desktop and not changing that experience, but then you've added like that OneDrive, the restore, where they can restore all your files if they catch some type of malware, if they get something that they want to try.
We have files restored today, and then the piece that we showed during the keynote where we're bringing in the Defender, that will come in the next month or so. But yes, files restore is a great thing. We had a customer who said, this is the greatest thing, and we made everybody aware of it. And it's there now for consumers as well as for business, which was great to be able to do that on both ends. And very simply, go into the settings gear, see that, and you can pick, unlike the recycle bin where you're just pulling a whole file out from last known good, this allows you, as if you were to go into Word and pick every version you wanted in Word. And PowerPoint, you're saying, do it all, everything to this point, every file, every folder, and bring me back. And you can scroll back and forth with that feature, too, which is great.
To the minute within the last 30 days.
Awesome.
And you combine that with this desktop and documents and photos, this turns into a super powerful backup solution. And so maybe backup is the wrong term, but it really...
It is a confidence solution. It is a protection solution, absolutely. The only reason I cringe a little bit with the word backup is if I say backup to people, they go, great, you're going to bring back all my applications and all that. And we don't do application backup. Of course, with MDM and things like that, you can bring that in. But absolutely, everything that's important to you, all your documents is there. And with Exchange Online, there's your email. So there's that confidence, that protection, document protection, absolutely. Confidence, absolutely, and that ability to be back where you were working with minimal effort, and then with the other things that IT can bring in to be able to do that effectively.
Yeah, this is resiliency and adherence to policy.
And I can sleep at night.
Nice, warm fuzzies, right?
Yes.
I don't have butterflies in my stomach about things like that. I've been in a lot of organizations where malware is definitely a thing. No matter how much you train users and run through, there is that person that's going to go, I know I shouldn't open this, but I want to see what happens when I do. And bad things happen. So it's a
security would be great if it wasn't for end users.
Awesome recovery mechanism. You mentioned Team Site Auto Mount at one point during there. So that's going to be super interesting for smoothing the onboarding experience from the end user side and consumer side of life. So why don't you walk us through that one? Yeah,
right now, if you're using files on demand, if you had any team sites that you were syncing, you have to go back out and find those and resync those. And what we're finding is as companies are migrating from that DNX drive that we were talking about and bringing that over, especially with files on demand, they really say, I just really want to mount that. So somebody goes into Explorer, there it all is, and they're seeing it, and it's not taking up any room on their drive because it's all in the cloud. They can get to it, and whatever they open is going to be local, which is great. So we want a way to be automatically say, when deploying to a new user, automatically mount these folders. So we can do that as we're doing that, or as we're upgrading and moving folks over. We can mount certain team sites and have those automatically syncing. So to an end user, they open up Explorer, and it's their window to the world. Everything they need to see is right there.
Yeah. Is that going to be a GPO-driven feature? Or
we'll talk a little bit more as we get a little bit closer on how that's going to roll out, but we'll fully support it in Autopilot. We'll support it with MDM. We'll look at some GPO stuff. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, we'll do a deep dive on that in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that one, I like that one. did this with a client where they moved from file shares, wanted to put everything in SharePoint. They were using OneDrive and SharePoint.
Yeah.
And like the first thing is, okay, so this is the team site where some of your files are, and it's like walking all 25 users through. This is how you manually sync it and do all that.
It's a lot. And people go, why do I need to do this? Yeah, they're like, I just used to click my computer and it's there. And I go, all you do is you click your computer and it's there. You're just looking in a different place. And they're like, oh, it's there.
Yeah. It's a great story when we consider storage improvements. We just had that 20x increase in per user pooled storage come across. We've had some changes to versioning recently, some announcements around that. So we have more storage, we have more room to be more resilient and better taken care of. So it's all really starting to come together. And now we're back to anytime, anywhere, any device.
And that's the goal.
Let's go in and just have people actually execute business processes.
And that's such a big thing. And Jeff and I were talking about this, and Jeff Tieper and I did an interview yesterday. We were really talking about that ubiquity across platforms that, I have a PC, I have an iPad, I have an iPhone, I have a Mac, I also have an Android device that I use. And that ability, and we're seeing more and more executives are saying, I have a laptop in my office, but I carry an iPad or an Android device to a meeting. I'm home, I have a Surface or whatever. To be able to move back and forth seamlessly between those, to start working one place, pick it up, whether it's in OneNote, whether, whatever it is that's driven. That's really how people are working now. My daughter in the back of the car is doing work off a SharePoint server for her school project with 3 kids, then FaceTiming with them while she's doing it on her laptop and picking it up there. That's amazing to see how natural that handoff is to them and what they expect. So that just becomes really a critical piece of that. And we want to make sure we're enabling that and keeping it ubiquitous, the same, and that it looks the same and works the same.
It's a great story because we have the end user constraints inside of it, and we've still maintained that enterprise control, and we have that control plane in place, and we can have our cake and eat it.
And it's a story we've said for years, but now it really works and we really mean it.
Well, now we can execute it.
Now it works the way that we...
Then we no longer have to deal with groove.exe.
Yes, exactly. Unless you're on-prem, but then SharePoint 2019.
Yes, exactly. Get rid of it completely. Upgrade just to get rid of Groove.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Why don't we cover external sharing reports as well? So that's a nice security mechanism and giving customers more insights into what is happening with their data.
Yeah, a huge ask from user voice was to get that out. So that's going to allow our customers exactly that. As they're doing external sharing, who shared it, who did they share it with, what was shared, be able to track all that information back. That's been a big, something we've been working on very, very hard to bring that forward. And what's great is you can export that into a third-party product. You can export it into Power BI. Whatever you want, it's all going to be right.
Data comes out, it's CSV driven or whatever it happens to be, and customers.
And that's the thing is all of our reports in our security and trust center can be imported into other third-party products. We support all the stuff that IT is using, so we've really tried to make it as easy as possible.
Cool. Awesome. And then we had a transfer of ownership as well. So that model's changing just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's going to be across not just OneDrive, but email, SharePoint. So right now it goes to the administrator or up to IT. This way I could say, you know what, there are 3 group managers for HR. It'll transfer to all of them, and then they can sit and decide where they want to do it. Do we want to bring it over? Do we want to put it into a new SharePoint site? Whatever it is you want to do with it, that you'll be able to do that more easily.
So that's going to be a per user control, and
it'll be a per user control where you can, or a group. You can say everybody in this group. These are the group managers, so you can pick where that goes for SharePoint, OneDrive, and email.
Awesome.
So all of those kind of key connected Office 365 services.
So it's almost more of just a rules based transfer of ownership. Then instead of just defaulting to that.
It'll default to your manager. If not, then it goes to the tenant owner, and then it goes to IT. This way I can say, don't go this way, go this way. Go to these 4 people. These are the other owners. And, if anybody leaves, there's still 3 people. One of them's going to own it and do that, and then we'll swap it up.
Which is way easier. So somebody higher up leaves, and another executive gets their data. If they say, really, I want my assistant in there. Right. They had to come to IT and open a ticket. And, so now
and that's what an end user would do. Is, here, Bob, I'm leaving. I'm going to give you all my stuff. I'm moving into a new role. So, exactly.
Absolutely. Any new other features we missed or anything we didn't cover?
I don't think anything big. The other big one that we announced a few weeks ago was stuff for our Mac customers. So we now include the OneDrive desktop client when you install Office for Mac. Mm-hmm. The big difference there is, unlike the App Store client, which we recommend that folks don't use and go to the download, is it automatically launches at startup. It stays persistent in the Apple Finder, and you have all the exact same controls as you do on PC. Also, with the new desktop client, you also get differential sync for back office, which we have for PC. And now you get real-time collaboration.
Awesome.
Okay. So that's great. So, and if you have the App Store one installed, when you go to install the desktop, it'll automatically uninstall
transition you over.
Automatically bring it over. Right, so but now it's built in to click to run Office for Mac.
Okay. If you already have it installed and you're getting upgrades,
It'll do that, or you can go out and you can download that today. If you just type in OneDrive desktop install, you can do it. It'll move over the old one. You won't lose any data. You don't lose anything, but it'll transition you over and you'll get better value.
All right. Can I ask about another Mac feature
that I want?
I want files on demand on my Mac.
You're the only person I've ever heard that from.
Really?
Wow, you're the first one. We need to start a list for that.
I should.
Yeah, can you just give him the client that does that and he'll
Yeah, absolutely. We've been sitting in a back room with it, just hanging on to it. With files on demand for PC, it's something we work very, very heavily with Windows because of that deep integration. The fact you can work on and manage it through PowerShell. It's not a GUI sitting on top of this built in. So we're working with Apple. We're working with them on doing this because we really want to do it right and make it a great experience and that it should work exactly the same way it does for our Windows users.
All right.
Because Box has it.
Yep.
And the problem is you can't take things offline. You have to be always connected. If you want to take stuff offline, you have to go back to their old one. We don't want that disjunctive experience. If it just works on Windows, we want it to do the same. And because it's Apple, we're working with them. So we're looking forward to sharing that news as soon as we're ready to share it.
So we want to do it right. I have some hope.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. It is absolutely something we're working on. It's a top priority, but we want to do it right.
Yeah, there's always hope for a feature. There's no hope for you. But
so one thing, I never get any love. I'm glad Steven's here. At least he seems to sort of like me.
You got this go for you. Yeah. So one last thing.
Good, so
I know.
So I was going to say one thing too. I talked about that. I asked about the feature.
Moving on, folks. Just working.
Yeah, or I'm just going on from that. You mentioned user voice. We talked about this a little bit beforehand and how that has driven some of these features. Like
a third of our features are driven by that. Yeah. Our user voice community is where anybody can go in and make a suggestion for a new feature or upvote, and you get 5 votes. You can pick anything you want to upvote. Once something gets around 100, we actually go in. Ryan Hogue from our mobile team owns it, and then there's different owners now. We're about to revamp it where if it's interface, our interface team owns it. If it's mobile, the mobile team owns it. Sync, the sync team owns it. But we'll go in and say, you know what? We've seen this. We're thinking about it. We're going to do it. We're not going to do it. When we actually do something and release it, an email to all those folks go out. But a third of our features have come from that because the goal is always to have a good balance of, I like to say, evolution and revolution. Yeah. What are the features that people are asking for that either they had with other products or they really need to get the job done or they're using our products in a different way? And hey, we didn't think about that. That's an interesting scenario. Are there more people that want that?
Sure.
And then revolution with things like files restore that nobody expected, or the fact that you can do iMessage share right from iOS with OneDrive. Mm-hmm. So you can be inside of an iMessage in the same way you send, a link via Outlook. You're not sending the file. You can do the same thing through iMessage. So we're always trying to balance that. But right now, it's about a third of those features are coming from our customers. And that's incredibly important. We want to hear from them and we want to continue to bring what they want and get that good balance going.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we very much appreciate you coming on, spending time with us.
Yeah.
Did you guys get your monkeys and everything?
Oh, yeah. He set a couple off, so he's not going to make it to TSA.
We have tons more, but so don't pull the tab until you're home. That's the key.
I had one of my tabs come out, so I had to get another one because I have 3 kids. So I have 3 of them. So I am hoping all 3 of them, the tabs stay securely in place.
Yeah, we really want to put like a dozen in somebody's bag, pull the tabs and see what happens when they go through TSA. I gave one to my dog. My dog was not expecting it. Grabbed it. Yep. It squealed. She dropped it, backed off about 3 feet, growled at it. Wasn't quite sure what was going on. So
they're great for scaring dogs, little kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're a OneDrive guy. Have you had any other fun stuff that you've just enjoyed
while I was here?
Conference? And am I allowed to say not Spaces because everybody says SharePoint Spaces, or is that what you're going to say?
Well, I mean, at the highest level for me, because I'm an old 80s guy, the B-52s were amazing last night. Myself and Jeff Teeper and Tony from the Sync team, we were right up front, and Fred Schneider handed us his Rock Lobster cowbell drumstick.
Oh, wow.
Because we were not taking pictures the whole time. We were enjoying the concert and being in the moment.
I saw him make that comment. He was like, if you guys haven't been using your phones, here you go. So
it was Jeff Teeper and myself and Tony East. We all got those. We have a very nice picture.
But then the phones came out and the picture was...
And then we got pictures and then we got set lists. So that was great. No, I just think I love the work that the Stream team is doing. I think that's such a great app. And the fact that you can zoom, you can type in specific text, get right to it, see who's talking. I think for training, as we take a look at people with disabilities, as we take a look at language differences, that's a really great feature that I think is really going to bring some really interesting opportunities to businesses. And I think just globally, anytime we can reduce friction that we have with different languages and not understanding what people are saying or disabilities and get everybody on that same even level, it just creates a better environment.
Yeah, we talked to Adam Harmons yesterday, and we dove into that accessibility piece, which is absolutely huge. And nobody, unless you have to think about it or you're targeting those segments, it's just there for you, and it's sitting there. Readily available.
Everybody under Omar, both Adam and Jason, accessibility is really, really important to us. And as we start to move everything to the cloud, we have a great chance to make up for the stuff that we maybe didn't do in those older versions and really bring that to life and do a good job there. So I love the work the Stream team is doing, all the great new stuff that the SharePoint team has brought out, Spaces, which is, it opens up some interesting opportunities. I'm really interested to see how customers are going to use that and bring that together. Some of the new security stuff that we're bringing across the platform, from GDPR compliancy to some of the new security features, because we need our customers to make sure that they feel comfortable and that they trust what we're doing with their data and with their content. So I think the things we're doing there, and I've seen some great stuff from our vendors and our partners, just some really great ways where they're augmenting what we're doing and bringing those little niche functionalities that are difficult for us to do. They're bringing in to go deep in certain areas where we can't really build that feature because it only does 100,000 people as opposed to millions, but they're doing it and doing it really well. And we do I feel a good job of partnering with them. So that was also great to see too.
Very cool. Well, thanks.
Thanks for the time today, guys.
Glad you could come over.
Come down, come up, whatever.
Left, right.
Yeah, come around.
It's all good. It's the end of the week for us. It's been a long week. It's been kind of crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody at home.
All right.
Using OneDrive.
Absolutely. And we will talk to you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks.
If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.